Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to navigate the platform when conducting the interview. So of course you start by starting the interview and choosing the language that you want, and then you get to this view. So in this case we had an introduction as the first step, so that's why that one shows up. It's also the recommendation that you start off an interview with an introduction. In this case we have actually a template that's created by Aske. So it's a script that you can use to make sure you start off the interview in a great way. If I move the camera, you can also see that we have a lot of things happening on the right-hand side. First off, you see that we have a timer that counts down, and it's a timer that helps you make sure that you keep time in the interview. So this is the total time, so it was 55 minutes from we started, and it starts automatically when you press start interview. But you can of course pause it, because maybe sometimes you start the interview but you don't start immediately. Maybe you talk about something else or whatever the reason could be. You can just pause it and then continue it when it's the right time. We also see here that we have a 5-minute mark, meaning that we have allocated about 5 minutes to this step, meaning that we should, before this timer hits 50, we should be done with this part. Nothing happens, of course, if you go overboard or go too long, but it's just to help you keep track of time and make sure that you have the progress that you need in order to finish the interview on time. We have a product progress here, showing you how long, how big part of the interview that you completed. It's 0% because we're on the first step, where you will see how that changes as we move on. And here we have a really cool feature which gives you an overview of the entire interview. So now we can see that we are on the introduction phase. So it's blue, indicating that it's in progress. And as soon as we press next, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Then this one turns green and we go to the next step. But you can actually look at this one, you can see the entire interview. You can hover over a question or a part and you can see the question. And you can see exactly what it is. And this gives you a great overview of the entire interview. And you can see how many steps that you have as well. So let's see what happens when we press next. So now we're done with introduction and we go to the next step. You see now that it finishes. So it took us 1 minute and 56 seconds to complete the introduction. So that was good, well within time frame that we had for 5 minutes. But we can, maybe something happens that you need to go back to the introduction to clarify something, or you need to go back to a question further on the interview to make a clarification. You can actually do that, and let's see what happens. So I go back, and it actually starts counting time again. And that's to make sure that you actually have a fair track of time. So it's a really good way to make sure you know how much time you're spending on each step. And I'm going back to result oriented, and now we see it's in progress. And now you actually don't have to follow this logic going next. You can actually click on questions here on the right side in the interview process to jump to a question. Maybe they kind of start talking about something that's more relevant for another question, or you need to skip a question, whatever the reason could be, even though the recommendation is, of course, to follow this order. But you can simply hover and you see, yeah, that's the question I want to go to, and we'll see what happens. We jump to that question, and now that one is in progress. This one stays in progress because we didn't finish it. It doesn't finish until we give it a score. And don't worry, you can complete the interview with still having everything in progress. It doesn't, you don't have to finish a score all the interview questions. Actually, matter of fact, we even recommend people to finish the interview and then go back and score it. So all of the questions might actually be in a blue state when you're done with with the interview, and then coming back and then you finish it by giving the score. We can see how that looks like. So if we go back to the first question and we actually score it, then that we see the score. And then it keeps on adding time until we go to the next step. And now that one is in progress. So yeah, and you can of course add notes. You do that by adding notes. You can have bullet points, you can have numbers, and you can do whatever you want to take notes. And your interview is saved every 5 minutes, so you don't lose any progress. And let's say that we finished the interview. We've gone through everything, but we haven't scored everything. We've just gone to all the questions. We've gone through the interview, and we go to the next step, and then you complete it. What we will see now is that we have an unfinished interview. If you go in and you look at it, see we have 0% here. We see that it's only one question that's actually been scored. And what you do then to go back and score the interview is to press edit. and then you choose the language again, and all of the progress is then saved. So you can always come back to it. Just make sure you complete it so that it saves from where you are. So that's all the things you need to think about. And yeah, of course, you have to continue the interview, because we pause it if you go back and edit it, because maybe that's the step where you are actually scoring the interview. In another chapter, we will talk more about how to score. This was more of an overview of how to navigate the conduct interview place.